All right. Hey guys. Sorry, I had a little bit of something crazy going on with my mic for just a minute and with my camera. Okay, there were some of you who kind of had your camera on and off. If you're able to turn your camera on and give me a thumbs up and let me know that you can hear me good, that would be awesome. Okay, perfect. Okay, good deal. All right. Hey guys, it's Miss Gibbs. I'm super excited that you guys are tuning in with us. Today I'm at Huntsville Botanical Gardens again. Maybe some of you were on our video in June where we did a live lesson from the vegetable garden. And today we are in the butterfly house at the Huntsville Botanical Garden. We're actually in the classroom right now, and then later we'll be going over into the actual butterfly house that you can see behind me. But I hope you guys have been enjoying participating in our summer learning calendar so far. And I'm going to turn the camera around, and we have some guests here with us that are going to talk to you a little bit about the butterfly house and teach you some cool lessons. So we've got Mrs. Misty Hertzig is here. She's going to talk with you. And we also have Dr. Larry Corpus, and we also have Mrs. Ellis, who are butterfly house managers. Is that right? Butterfly house monitors. Okay. All right. To them. And guys, as we're listening and as they're sharing, if you have questions or things that you're thinking about that you'd like to ask, make sure you type those in the chat. We're not going to unmute, so you won't be able to unmute and ask your questions, but go ahead and type questions in the chat. And at the end, if you have anything you want to ask, I'll relay those questions to them and they'll do their best to answer. Okay. All right, Ms. Hertzig, we're ready.
All right. So like she said, I am, a lot of people call me Miss Misty. I am the learning programs manager, and I get the joy of having programming that involves this wonderful butterfly house that is behind us. And so today I just want to start out by sharing a little bit about the life cycle of our butterfly, because the life cycle of the butterfly is very important in determining how we take care of our butterfly house and how we manage our butterfly house, because we want to make it a point to support every stage of that life cycle so that our butterflies can thrive and be happy and healthy all through the season. So like I said, first things first, I want to talk about that life cycle and how they start out. So every butterfly goes through what's called metamorphosis, which means we see them change into completely different stages as they grow. And so there's always the very first stage, which is the teeny tiny little egg, and it is about the size of a period at the end of a sentence. So they're really, really small. So it's inside that egg for roughly about a week. And then after about a week, it's going to be ready to come on out. And so we see our caterpillar start to chew its way out of that shell. And that's actually its first source of nutrients. So it eats that shell, and then it is out of that egg onto what we call a host plant, which we'll talk about a little bit later today. But what they're going to do is they are now going to eat from that plant and eat those leaves. Because as a caterpillar, which is what we have here, this is what a monarch caterpillar looks like with the coloration on it. So it's got those yellow and black and white stripes on there to make it very visible. And this is also a way to tell other animals that this is a poisonous one, which means if you eat this, it could make you sick. And so it helps to protect as well. So stage, which is also known as the larva, for about 2 weeks roughly. And during those 2 weeks, what it's going to do is it's going to eat and it's going to grow. And because it grows so much, it actually has to do what's called molting, which means it's going to shed its skin because it has what's called an exoskeleton. Our skeleton is on the inside of our body, so it gets bigger with us. Their skeleton is on the outside of their body, and so it doesn't grow with them, so they have to shed it and get rid of it so that they are able to keep getting bigger and bigger. So usually caterpillars will grow 2,500 times their original size. So if you think of it, when a caterpillar first comes out, it's about the size of a single eyelash. So just think of how big a single hair on your eyelashes is. That's usually about how big they are. And then they get to about 2 or 3 inches usually, kind of depending on which type of caterpillar you're looking at. But during those 2 weeks, it's eating, it's crawling around, it's shedding its skin, and then it's going to get ready to go into its next stage. So at the end of that 2 weeks, it crawls around and it finds this perfect little spot. It spins a little silk button, hangs itself upside down and goes into what's called a J shape. So basically it looks like the letter J when it hangs upside down like that. And it's going to shed its skin or molt one last time. And as it molts, what we see happening, what we see coming out is the chrysalis. The chrysalis is something to help protect it while it goes through this next stage of its life. And so inside of this chrysalis, we have things that are changing, things that are growing, and body parts that it didn't have before are developing inside of this. And it is going to be inside of its chrysalis for, again, about 2 weeks. Some chrysalises look different. The monarch butterfly likes to be fancy and likes to have this nice jade green color with a little gold band. But there are other butterflies like our swallowtails and things like that. They're a little bit more natural looking. They're a little more browns and grays, things like that, because they want to protect themselves and blend in really well. And so after about 2 weeks, we start to see some color change. And as that color change happens, we know that this is ready to come out of its chrysalis. So now it's gone into its chrysalis, it's hung out there for a couple weeks, and it's ready to come out. And this is the best stage, right? This is the one everybody loves to watch fly around and do its thing. And so now it's going to turn into its adult butterfly stage. So we see it come out, squeeze its way out of its chrysalis. And as it squeezes its way out of its chrysalis, we notice that their wings, when they first come out, are kind of droopy because most of the fluid that they have inside their body tends to be in this part of it, in their abdomen area. And so their wings aren't quite ready to fly yet. So we'll see them start to pump up their wings. And once those wings fully come out and then dry out for a little while, then they'll be ready to fly and find food and find wonderful things to eat all around. And so now we saw this caterpillar that crawled around on its 6 legs and 8 leaves, but now we have our butterfly that is going to have still 6 legs, but now it's got those wings, and it's going to use those wings to travel most of the time. And so it is going to look for wonderful nectar sources, which Dr. Larry will talk to you about that we have in our butterfly house. And it is going to eat that. It is going to look at trying to lay eggs in order to be able to continue to have new butterflies. And it's going to live as an adult, depending on the specific kind of butterfly, anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks as an adult. So overall, about 6 to 8 weeks is what we're looking at as the average life cycle of our butterfly. And so, like I said, our butterfly house supports every single one of those stages. So when we take our walk through there, you're going to notice that we've got a variety of different things to help support that. So that is the wonderful life cycle of our butterfly. And so I just want to say that we have some great chances to be part of this life cycle with a variety of different events and programs that we run throughout the summer and into the early part of fall as well. You can actually be part of a butterfly release, which is really exciting because you can come out here and release butterflies into our butterfly house and get to see them come out and start to fly around and all of that. And so it's a wonderful opportunity there. So we definitely encourage you to check those out. And we also have one at the end of September, which is our monarch tag and release. So here we have our monarch butterfly, which we do have some monarchs out in our butterfly house, but we have a lot of other kinds of butterflies out there as well. I believe Larry told me this morning we had about 14 of them as far as he was aware out there. And all of those butterflies will naturally occur within this region. And so they are normally here. They're mostly considered what's called native, which is very important for us here in our butterfly house. And so you can be part of that tag and release where you actually learn about the migration of the monarch butterfly, and you actually get to put a little sticker on a real monarch butterfly, and you can track and see if it migrates or travels all the way down to Mexico for the winter. Really cool process. Going to learn more about that later. But now what I would like to do is I would like to turn it over to go into our butterfly house so that you can check out that space and enjoy that. So we're going to go into what we call our double door system. When it comes to our double doors, they help to protect our butterflies in our butterfly house. So you can see here always like to make sure people are safe, so we always ask that they stay on the path and that they are looking with their eyes and not with their hands so that we can keep things safe and beautiful for everybody. So go ahead and come on in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to close this first door. Once we close this first door, that makes it so that if there are any butterflies for any reason that might fly out, this keeps them from completely escaping so we can get them back into the healthy habitat for them. And so we'll sit in here for a moment, make sure those doors are closed, and then we open this. And you'll notice when we open this door, it sounds like the wind is blowing. And that's because we have something that makes kind of a wall of air here to discourage the butterflies from trying to fly out as well. So we'll come on in from here. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Larry Corpus, and he's going to tell you about the sorts of cool things that we have out.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Book. Hi, folks. We're in the atrium region now of the butterfly house. We're about to go on the pathway. The butterfly house with its atrium is set up so that we have primarily two major types of plants that are available for the butterflies in here. We have those plants referred to as food plants that produce nectar for the adults. And then if they happen to mate and produce caterpillars, we have host plants on which the caterpillars will feed. Quite often they don't feed on the same plants that they're getting nectar from, but there's a much wider array of plants providing nectar plants for them. If you look carefully as we go down the pathway, you'll see a very important nectar plant available to the butterflies, and this is called Joe Pye weed. And Joe Pye weed is just now beginning to produce flowers and have nectar flow, and this is the type of thing that the adults would prefer. Now, if you look down in this area, just a few moments previously, we had butterflies moving back and forth across the pathway. There are a number of other types of plants that have flowers on them. You can see that, in fact, there goes a monarch right there. You can see we oftentimes supplement sugar water in some feeders that are in here as well, because sometimes the nectar is not flowing quite as well for the great number of butterflies we might have. So we have 4 of these feeding stations throughout the butterfly house. Now you might notice as I walk up through here, I may be disturbing some of the butterflies, and they're flying back and forth across the pathway. But there's an example of a supplemental feeder. We just put in gravel so they can land on it, and then fill it up with sugar water to where the point where you can still land on the gravel, they can feed with it with their pick up some sugar water. Now you might notice that some of the adults will fly down low across the pathway. There may also be some adults that land on the pathway itself. And this is so they can, this one is thermoregulating. It's actually trying to gain heat energy because they need at least an 80-degree Fahrenheit internal body temperature for their wing muscles to begin to function. And here's another one. This is here, and there's one over there on the pathway. So quite often when you walk in, you have to be careful, not look on the pathway to make sure you don't step on one. But they got their wings open, wings down, and what they're doing is they're gaining radiant energy from the sunlight. Now, quite often, the people will wonder if the top of the atrium here is covered in glass. No, the whole thing is covered in screen. It's open to the environment, and so when it rains, of course, the butterflies are going to go seek shelter. But you can see there are butterflies up in the screen. They will probably land, open up their wings. There's a number of monarchs that are flying in front of us right now. You can see they've landed on some of the flowers to gain some food. we have this sculpture is one of the gardens has a display of this particular individual who, if you look in this, the Eastern Tiger Swallowtail, and this individual who's on the sign has placed these sculptures of insects, butterflies in particular, throughout the garden, and we were lucky enough to have one placed inside here. The very beautiful insects in glass. Glass and white. We choose the nectar plants for the bright colors, which will attract the butterflies to them. Plus, you can see this one here. This is the bee balm that's producing blooms with nectar. And then we have Pacua, which is a small white flower, produces nectar throughout the entire season with the butterfly house open. We have another feeder, supplemental feeder up here, up behind the ferns. We have several trees in the garden. This one's a dogwood, and it produces blooms as well in the early part of the season. And it's utilized by the early butterflies that are released beginning April and May. Now, our season usually runs from April to May on through middle of October, middle to end of October. And we have releases of adult butterflies periodically, about every other Saturday. And there's also special occasions in which the butterflies are released as well. But you'd be best off checking your website for those particular dates and the times. On releases, say a little bit about that. We release adult butterflies for the most part in here. We've released some chrysalids as well, but I'll talk about that when we get around to the other side, the chrysalid releasing chamber. But normally the butterflies are acquired by us, and they come to us with their wings folded up in these special types of envelopes called glossine envelopes. Now, the name is very unique because these glossine envelopes have been used by entomologists for decades. It's the way that you can capture live butterflies. You put them into these envelopes with their wings up and very carefully close up the envelope. And with their wings up like this tends to suppress their behavior to where they want to try to fly and damage their wings. So as long as you can keep them in this glossine envelope, then they won't try to beat their wings and damage themselves and hurt themselves. But when we release them, people take the envelope like this. They'll hold the envelope carefully. They will not squeeze or touch the butterfly inside. They'll open up the envelope. And then the reason they're called glossine is they're smooth as glass. So when they drop them out, they will fall onto your palm or onto the plant that you're putting them on. And then they'll either stand there or they'll fly off right away. So they're brought to us in these glossine envelopes, and that's how they're basically a release when we release the adults. All right.
Guys, as we keep moving, reminder that if you have questions you're thinking of, make sure you type your questions into the chat so that we can have our questions answered later. Okay.
Okay. Now I talked about plants. The plants provide food for the adults. This, there's a malachite adult that has landed on this passion flower. This is an example of a plant that's used as food, especially for pipevine swallowtails and other types of butterflies when the caterpillars are going to emerge. This malachite, as far as I know, does not feed on this particular plant, but they have an adult that it has its had just landed and it's sitting on the leaf. But this is an example of a food plant. We have some other food plant examples on the other side as we go around. We have another passion flower up here. Setting to the right of our observation hive for honeybees. And of course, honeybees are a major pollinator, much as the butterflies are as well. And this observation hive is set up in such a way that the comb can be placed inside and the supers. There's an area down below that's kept in the dark where the queen is typically located with other workers, and they can go out with their pollen and nectar through this particular tube that goes out to the screen. And so this hive is kept here as an example of the other great pollinators we have, the honeybees. Which one? This is a group of snapdragons. There's some here, and there's some down around next to the bottom of the waterfall. And snapdragons, while they have good nectar flow, the plant itself is also a for buckeye caterpillars. The buckeye caterpillars, you may notice if you look at some of the stalks of the plant in the bottom down here, you may notice that there's no leaves. And that's because the buckeye caterpillars have eaten all the leaves off, and then they've basically pupated into chrysalids. They've emerged. And so what's happened is we have this snapdragon has come back. It's growing new leaves, and it's probably going to produce another set of flowers until the summer's out. Here's an example of a host plant with a diagram showing you the male and female of the pipevine swallowtails, and it's a host plant, and that's pipevine back behind us here, pipevine plant. So it shows you the adult and the caterpillars and the chrysalids, and then it shows you the plant in the back. And utilizes this one as a host plant as well. They utilize a lot of different plants for their nectar sources. There's more snapdragon showing you it's coming back from having been consumed by buckeye larvae. We've just gone through the coolest, literally speaking, place in the atrium. That's we call it the cave. It sits out next across from the waterfall, and very nice in real hot days to sit in there, contemplate what's going on out here in the sun and heat. But it's a very nice place to be. We have here another example of a host plant. This one is for the giant swallowtails. We had a few in here at one time. I think they're still here. It's a very unique looking butterfly because it's a swallowtail, but it has these yellow bands, two bands of yellow across the back of the hind wings and across the forewings, and kind of a yellow-green coloration. But they prefer to feed on citrus as caterpillars. And this is an example of a citrus plant. Citrus being your lemons and limes and grapefruits and things of this nature. A third host plant that we have is spice bush. If you rub your fingers on that, Well, you can smell a spice bush, but this is a spice bush swallowtail. This is the host plant for it. And again, we have a illustration showing the caterpillar and then the adults, males and females. Now, I mentioned to you the fact that the caterpillar, of course, is the second life stage. There are 4 different stages of the caterpillars, first through fourth. And as Miss Misty said earlier, the caterpillars are going to use their exoskeleton in final to produce their part of their chrysalid covering. And what we have here is a chrysalid release. And there are still some chrysalids left over, and there's still some chrysalids that did not emerge as adults in this box. And what it entails is we receive the chrysalids and we are able to mount them to string and then wind the string around sticks and then support the sticks upright. This allows the chrysalids, as you can see by this one here, it allows the chrysalid to hang down, allowing the adult to emerge and then pull itself out of its chrysalid case and then drop its wings. Because in addition to pumping body fluids into the wing veins to open them up, gravity helps pull them down as well. So there's 2 things taking. So if you ever have a chrysalid you discover in the woods and you want to get it to become an adult butterfly or moth, whatever the case may be, you always want to put a stick in at an angle so that the chrysalid can hang at an angle and help gravity expand its wings. But we put in 39 chrysalids when we set this up 2 weeks ago. And the day after we set it up, I think 9 butterflies emerged. We had like 3 monarchs, 3 zebra longwings, and a couple of buckeyes had already emerged there. When I came in in the morning, they were sitting on the moss, waiting with their wings still down to get them to solidify, harden up, and take off and fly. Some other plants we utilize for nectar would be, again, the Joe Pye weed. We also have lantana and a stilby. In addition to the bee balm I talked about earlier, there are butterfly bushes. We have a variety of different plants to provide flowers or nectar for the butterfly adults. And I see this one over here that has landed on the top of this plant. This is called a Julia, Julia, just like the girl's name. And it's told by the fact it has narrowish wings, an orange background coloration, and there are some light dark bands, 2 of them emanating from the front of the wing to the back of the wing. It's a Julia. Many people mistake it for a monarch from a distance, and there's a monarch back there, but this does not have the dark black wing veins the monarch does. We have hibiscus, Rose of Sharon, I believe is what it's referred to as. A hibiscus plant that's producing a variety of quite a number of blossoms that the butterflies prefer to land on and feed on. You can see one flying around right now. Anna, you have anything to add?
I just want to tell you a little bit about the Purdy Butterfly House itself. We're one of the largest open air butterfly houses in the States. And because of that, we have about 9,000 square feet of garden right here in the section. And because of that, we don't have to control the temperatures because the outside does it for us. And that's why we have those native butterflies. Also, because of the way butterflies work and Dr. Corpus was talking about the heat regulation. The butterflies are most active at the hotter parts of the day. So about, we started at 10, down to like 12 or 1 is the best time to hunt for butterflies. But yeah, we hope you visit soon.
We ready for questions or, okay,
If there's any questions, we would love to have them.
let's look and see. Oh, there's lots of them.
Okay.
Okay. Well, the first question I see is how many types of plants do you have? I don't know if they mean in the entire garden or just in the butterfly house. Maybe.
Well, that is a significant number. I couldn't tell you the exact amount because what's awesome about our staff that we have here at the garden is they are constantly updating our lists and our collections and tracking that data. So I couldn't tell you just how many, but there are thousands upon thousands of different kinds of plants all throughout the garden and even just in this area in the butterfly house here. So there's quite a few.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for that question, Ruxton and Beck. And then we have, oh, there's some butterflies right next to us. We have Makisha asked, how do the bees get out, I guess, of the hive that we were looking at earlier?
If you, she showed you a illustration at this, on the right-hand side of the observation hive, at the bottom, there is a small box in which is a large hose attached to it. It's aluminum hose, I believe, and it goes out and goes through the screen to the outside. So that way they can come in through the hose to the screen on the outside, go up the hose and go into the hive, and then they can also go out the same way.
Okay.
Bring in their they bring in their nectar and their pollen, and then place it into the nest.
Ruxton and Beck asked, what do you do with the honey the bees produce?
I'm not sure about that specific honey. That's more of, like I said, demonstration. So it's not a huge amount of honey that's produced from that one. But we do have some beehives here on site in another area of the garden that, depending on how much those produce, sometimes different times of year, they will be available some bottles of it for sale in our gift shop. So
It looks like our last question from Ahana is how long did the butterfly house take to build?
I'm not sure just how long it took to build. It's been here for a little over 15 years now. And I'm not sure just how long the project itself took, but it was a very different experience with our previous butterfly house. So it's basically just a wooden, almost greenhouse-like structure in a different area of the garden. So it's definitely grown and changed. I know cleaning it and maintaining it sometimes can take a week at a time just to make sure everything is clean. So you can only imagine it probably took at least 4 or 5 months, if not more than that, to get it built to start with. So.
Do you like taking care of flies?
Absolutely, I do. I started this summer after I graduated from high school, so this is my 3rd year now, and it's probably the best summer job you could ask for.
Oh,
It's I've been doing this now for 2 years. I started it last year. Actually, taking care of the butterflies isn't the only thing that we do. We have to make sure squirrels apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, squirrels, as you can see, like to run along the screen, and they like to run along the side of the screen, but they will invariably decide that they want to chew a hole. They actually chew through the wire, and so we've got to check and make sure that there's no open holes in the screen for the butterflies to escape or get in, and then we have to check for spider webs. Because invariably at this time of the year, now you might have noticed there's a lot of spider webs as you walk down the sidewalk. This time of the year, the spiders begin to set up home and shop in the crevices of frames. So we have to take brooms and we have to go behind the vegetation and make sure there's no holes and make sure all the spider webs are taken down as well. And then, of course, some of the plants don't get water from the sprinkler system that are in here, and we'll have to take and manually water those plants like the ones up on the deck. And then, of course, we have to make people stay in the pathway, things of this nature. But there's other jobs to be done in here. And for myself personally, I'm sure Anna would agree. It's it's a wonderful task because, you know, you get to be with the butterflies.
All right, let's see if I can get us turned around real quick. All right. Well, we want to say thank you very much to Ms. Herzig, Dr. Porpoise, and Ms. Ellis. It was awesome to learn all about the butterfly house at Huntsville Botanical Gardens. And so if you guys thought that was really cool, make sure that you tell your parents you want to come out and visit the botanical garden, or like we heard about earlier, go on to their website and look and see if there's still some openings to come, and maybe you could even do a butterfly release and release a butterfly into the butterfly house. So, all right, guys, thank you for tuning in. This video is being recorded, so I'm going to put it up. It'll be up on the calendar if you want to go back and watch it later. If you know you have friends who weren't able to tune in, but they're going to want to watch it back, let them know that it will be up for them to watch. So, bye, guys. Thank you for joining us.